Welcome, fans, to another episode of the JT Zone. We're in playoff mode right now. It's Sunday. We're in the first week of playoff matchups, and they're just about to wrap up. Now we have the second set of fantasy matchups to go, and I'm joined no other than my co-host Ervin because we both found ourselves with time because he's now going to be eliminated from the playoffs
very soon.
Yeah, I'll take it. My team didn't do that well this year, but we're gonna review what the current matchups were like this week, what our thoughts were. We're gonna review next week's preview matchups, and then we're gonna talk about who we think is gonna win the championship this year, right? I mean,
not me, guys, not me.
It's a big season, 10th year of fantasy, lots more to come. So let's start off by talking about the first matchup, and that is Ben's team, versus Brian's team. So this is Brian, the former champion of last year. He was able to make it in the playoffs, barely made it. It was a really tight playoff race, and his team did well enough, just they kind of willed themselves into the playoffs on their own, and
That's true.
they were there and it faced Ben, and Ben just crushed them, I guess, this week. A lack of motivation a bit there, and what do you think?
Brian didn't play all his guys the entire week, so I would say Ben pretty much had a bye. He was lucky he didn't face me or Paul in the first round because I think we both would have slapped him, but
well, Ben has a secret weapon, that he's kind of saving up Alfred Payton
on the IR.
Freaking triple doubles. It's crazy. I don't know how we can sustain that, but at the end of the day, we'll see what happens next week because Ben will now face Albert in the second playoff round.
It's done. Albert's gonna crush Ben.
And we'll have a brief preview of what we think about that matchup in a bit. So that was the first matchup, and now to go in the second matchup this week. Obviously, we had two. Kayla and Albert had buys, and the second matchup was Aravind against Paul. So what are your thoughts on that matchup? I mean, I think we're missing one key player involved. We have Aravind here, but we don't have Paul. What does Paul have to say? All right, true. Paul decided to come and join us here today to analyze and review, this matchup of the week. I think it was the most exciting matchup of the week otherwise because, it was very close. And even today, right now as we speak, it's still going on, but it's very clear that Aaron's going to lose this one unless D'Lo goes off. He's had 50-point games before. And so if he
Harrison Barnes used to go 20 for 20 from the free throw line, get me 5 blocks and 15 threes, it looks like, because Bradley Beal just killed me this week.
21 threes. 21 threes is freaking ridiculous. That must be a record for a week. But the main thing I want to ask you is Aaron, okay, we look at what happened during the regular season.
Yeah.
2 matchups against Paul. He won 5-4 in week 3, and then coming back again in week 14, wins even a more dominant 6-3. What happened, Aaron? Now you're gonna lose. It looks like a 6-3 loss at the end of the day for this. Explain yourself, man.
I put an old school Raptors dominate the regular season and just burn out in the playoffs. But my guys didn't show up. D'Angelo Russell scored like 10 points below his average. Blake Griffin like 10 points below his average. And then Jokic gets ejected for the first time this season. It was just all our emotions right there. We just put a Serge Ibaka right now.
Paul, what do you think of how your team did this week?
Well, I'm proud of what my team did.
What was the difference? You lost in the regular season twice, and this time you come back?
I did, but both times they were pretty close. This time, made some key pickups during the week. Picked up Jalen Brunelson and also Damian Dotson on the last day.
Damian Dotson.
Guys came clutch for me this week, and that's, I think, the difference maker.
See, I told you, like, the first thing that happened, folks, when I came in here to Ervin's house, I'm like, why didn't you pick up anyone? It's 0 pickups versus 3 pickups. So I don't know what the games are, but I feel like Paul had more games than you this week, and that could be a difference maker, man.
That is true, but the Bradley Beal factor, and then Damian Dotson, like out of all the players on Paul's team, Damian Dotson going off for 25 points, shooting 20 shots in the game is something no one expects, and it just happened just like that.
Oh, that's what buried him.
But Paul made some great pickups. His team played well. Deserving win for him, of course.
Very close. And so, what are your predictions now? Because Paul will go up against, next time we'll talk about this in a bit, but he'll go up against Kalen now. And so, do you think he'll do well?
I want Paul to win because I don't want to lose to the loser, of course. So Paul better become champ, and Kalen's going to go down.
Okay, you hear it here, folks. Everyone thinks Paul's going to be the champ next. Paul, do you think you can do this after dropping Mo Bamba? I mean,
well, I did have to drop him just to put myself back in the playoff race.
Yes.
Lost twice to Kalen this year as well, but I think I can pull up the upset and bring a win to Wakanda forever.
That's true. He's been pulling upsets all season long, so you never know.
All right, well, that was a great review, guys. And so we're gonna take a quick break over here, and after the break, we're gonna review what we think on the next matchups for the other weekend, who we ultimately believe the champion of the 10th year of fantasy will be. Catch you soon. Welcome back to the JT Zone, folks. And now we're gonna review next week's matchups, which actually start tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right then and here, and let's talk about, while we have him in the room, let's talk about Paul's next matchup. You're gonna be facing against the Wacko Goslings. One of the, he's a scary team. When we look
That's
at
true.
his players going into the next week, he has some hot guys. People like Julius Randle.
On fire.
He's on fire. But at the same time, Kalen, the big news of this matchup, I would say, is an injury. It's Malcolm Brogdon.
Malcolm Brogdon.
He's out for the rest of the season.
That's a tough one.
And so, I mean, those are good sources of stats. But Kalen has other guys to step up. Paul, what do you? First question: Is he a tougher matchup than Aravid?
Definitely.
Yeah. 100%.
100%. I think we all agree, though. No joking around here. Kalen finished second place. He faced Paul twice in the regular season, slapped him both times, and now this is the third time. Paul, what's gonna win you over this time versus Kalen versus the past two matchups against him?
Hopefully, good pickups again by me, and for him, injuries on his team. I think that's the only way I'll get around his team for this round.
That's true. Katie got injured last season, same time for Kalen, and then again he gets injured.
That's
again.
what got him last time. Yeah. That's Kalen's number one pet peeve. Katie not coming down and showing up down the stretch.
This guy should be injury magnet.
Yeah, that's a real injury, man. Shout out to John Side, the original creator of that name.
Sick name.
It's gonna be a close matchup by me, but let's get some predictions here. I think honestly, I'll start myself. I think Kalen will win this. A 6-3 win for Kalen.
6-3. Ooh.
Yeah.
I got Paul 5-4.
Paul 5-4. Paul.
I'm thinking the same thing. 5-4.
5-4. You heard it here, folks. And let's see how this matchup finishes off. Second matchup of the week, we have Ben versus Albert. So Albert's coming in. He's a what is he, a 6-time champion, basically? He is a six-time champion.
It's Golden State.
His team's doing hot this year. Finished first place, easy with 118 total wins. Can he take on Ben? Ben, we mentioned Ben has a secret weapon in Alfred Payton, just laying in the IR. And is that enough to take on Albert?
Well, Albert, I don't know if he's gonna activate him yet, but he does have Joel Embiid on his IR.
He had like freaking 40 points tonight or something.
He's a monster, but honestly, looking at Albert's team, Albert's top 5 is stacked. Levine, Conley, Paul George, and then you got Siakam as his 4th spot, and then Embiid. Top 5 is stacked for him, but it's the other guys that are just too inconsistent, I believe.
I think that's where it shows some weaknesses. I mean, we have people who are borderline free agency. Some of that is because you had to put Embiid on the IR, but you have guys like Olynyk, you have Bridges, Albert's big on Shea, think he's going to be a future superstar. But right now, these guys just aren't showing up that much. And versus Ben has a bit more consistency there. But I don't know. What are your thoughts, Paul?
I think Ben has this week for sure.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah. Interesting. Against
Kemba Walker has to pull out a huge week for him, though. You never know.
Kemba Walker needs to come up big along with some other guys. Ben made a strong comeback throughout the season. He was in the bottom seeds and then came out of nowhere and was eventually able to secure his playoff spot. And so his team is the hot one.
Yeah.
Well, Albert took a nice break, but let's see.
Nice bye week.
We asked Albert before today, what his thoughts were on the future matchup, and this is all Albert had to say.
It's over! It's over, ladies and gentlemen!
It's over. It's over.
It's over, baby. I mean, that's what he had to think about it. So we'll see actually what comes out of that matchup. What are your predictions? My thoughts, I feel like Ben can do a 5-4 victory coming down right to that Sunday. It's going to be a close one.
That's tight. What about you?
I think 6-3.
For who?
For who?
Sorry. For Ben.
Okay.
I had to go with the champ. You can't doubt the Golden State Warriors. 6-3, Albert.
Oh man, these are some interesting predictions here. And so based on that, and it's far away, we'll probably have another JT Zone to address this a few weeks from now. But what do we think of the champion for this year? Who are your thoughts?
I'm still going with Albert. I think Albert wins this. But actually, now that I look at it, I have Paul winning out of that bracket. So, for my sake, Paul wins 5-4 against Albert.
I'm gonna put Kalen's team. I think this is the year for Kalen.
Oh,
As long as KD plays, that's the
I think Kalen will be a
that's the number
first-time
one.
champ.
That's the number one caveat. That would be Kalen's first time champ. The first.
Yeah.
This is the closest Kalen has come since I think the very first season of fantasy. I believe where he finished second.
Yeah.
Second to me, but.
Just tooting my own horn here, but yeah.
Paul, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm hoping it's gonna be me versus Ben. That way we'll have a guaranteed new champion.
That'd be nice.
It'll probably be a 5-4 win for myself.
But if it's Ben versus Kalen, it's also a guaranteed new champion.
It is, but
It's not you, okay?
it's not me, exactly.
That's true.
Fair enough. All right. So these are our thoughts for the week. The last piece of news that I have that I think folks might be interested in, because I've gotten a lot of fan mail, right?
Mm-hmm.
Asking what's the update on the expansion league? How's that going? So just for those interested, and we'll pull up the stats right here. Adam Silver is number one, leading in all 9 categories. number one spot. I don't know how he did it, but if you want your update, there's your update. It looks like Adam Silver is a clear first place for the expansion.
It was not rigged at all.
It was not rigged at all. And and Bruno ended up playing on my team, so that's all that matters, guys. He put in some stats there.
He should have been a starting 5, you're saying.
He was in my starting lineup the entire. Go check it out. It's right there. All right. Anyways, folks, thanks Paul for joining us today.
Big time.
And otherwise, we'll see you again hopefully very shortly as we wrap up and analyze our results for the playoffs for the 10th League of Fantasy. See you guys soon.
Peace.
Peace.